going over some things, and I figured I'd do a video on New York City. And the question is New York City in decay or not? And that's the question, really. It's hard to answer exactly. But in a nutshell, yes, it is in decay, but I've heard comparisons to the same decay that Rust Belt cities have, and I don't necessarily agree with that because I have some experience. Like, I've done work in Pittsburgh and various other cities that are Harrisburg, part of the Rust Belt, you would say. Schenectady. I've been to those cities and done work in them years ago, way before when the Rust Belt collapsed, these cities, the industrial collapse in these cities. I've been to those places way after that happened, so I have a pretty good idea of what that means, and I know what the Rust Belt destruction is. Like, I'm aware of it. I'm stuck in this intersection. Yeah, I'm fully aware of what Rust Belt destruction is, and I wouldn't compare that to this, because you obviously don't have a lot of tourists going to Pittsburgh and Schenectady. You get the occasional New York State tourist that's passing through, going up to Niagara Falls, but you're not getting the volume of tourists that you get in New York City. So I'd have to say no on that. But there's plenty of industry still in New York. There's still a lot of people around, but it's definitely not the same city it was before, without a doubt. I mean, you just have to compare, like, when you go out at night and stuff. There's nowhere near the amount of people out at night. Nothing's open as late. So you get all that, and you realize that it's not the same city anymore, and you can't deny that fact. But to say it's a Rust Belt city, that same decline, I guess they're using that comparison to see how far a city can go down, and it gets pretty low. But for me to say that this city is on that kind of decline is not necessarily true. Because a Rust Belt decline is a very large decline of a city, and I don't think it's a fair comparison. Well, I do think there are some major problems in New York. Like, you can see, for example, the New York City subway system cannot continue in the direction it's going in. It doesn't have enough ridership. And that's why they're doing that congestion toll thing that's coming up, because they need to gather enough funds to keep the system going and upgrading it and all that stuff. And if they don't do that, the city subway system is going to continue to crumble. I mean, you see some progress in some things and not in others, you know. Around here now, this is a very tourist area, you know. This is all tourists coming in, taking advantage of the, and well, they should, you know, taking advantage of the discount pricing, booking.com, all that stuff. They can book a hotel at a nice rate, spend 3 days here, you know, on an off days. The peak days are still expensive, but you can go to Central Park, you know, do the things you want to do in New York and not have to spend $3,000. It's still expensive, but it's definitely cheaper. And I agree with the tourists coming in. That's fun. That's fun for them. You know, they don't have to spend. They don't have to take a loan out to go to New York City. But the decay is still there underneath the surface. And the decay, when I say decay, I mean subway ridership is not where it is. The tax base for the city is not where it is. You know, where it was. These endless. I mean, my work, it was so easy to hustle here. You know, you just work when you need the money and it would come in, you know. And now it's not like that. I have to figure out which contract I'm going to take that I'm going to survive off of and continue. And it's getting to be a problem. Like, I don't know how much longer I'd want to continue doing what I'm doing, and I talked about it. And I would love to go out to the West Coast. About the only place that I would go would be the West Coast or Savannah, Georgia, but that's not a good place right now. Georgia has its own issues going on. Florida I'm not going to, because Florida has its own problems too. Florida's going through some massive troubles, you know, and I don't want to be a part of that. You know, Florida has insurance rates doubling and things happening. Wow, nice Triumph. I guess that's a 19-inch wheel on the front. It looks pretty good, actually. Fun bike, actually. I don't know how fun it would be in the city, but it looks like it might be fun. He's got the crash bars and all that stuff. That thing's set up pretty good. Thought the bike would kick ass on this bike on the highway, but you know, for local stuff, this bike's fun. So getting back to the city thing, the decline is under the surface. And what I mean by that is the tax base. This city had a huge tax base. If you go to the business district on the east side, you know, 3rd Avenue, the amount of empty office space is staggering, you know. And I think they're just not talking about it, you know, because they don't want to exacerbate the situation. But commercial real estate is absolutely decimated here. The amount of vacancies is insane. And then the other thing is that some of these offices, like I even have one customer, a big advertising firm, they're carrying a 5-year lease. They're not going to break it. They have full intention of maintaining it, but their fucking office is basically nobody there. They're just working all remote. It's a skeleton office. People just working remote. Their desks are empty, and their phones are there forwarded to the cells. They just come in remotely using, you know, the different remote desktop softwares, and you know, Google Desktop or whatever it is they want to use. But these situations are not good. And when these large firms finally dump their leases and they don't renew them, then what's going to happen? Because that's going to be another bad situation on top of what's already bad. You know, when these big commercial leases go out, run their course, that's going to be a problem. I foresee an issue. when these leases run out, which they will run out, and then the offices will be even more empty. So how is that going to pan out? Well, it remains to be seen, but the tax base is so important in New York because it subsidized everything. It subsidized the train, it subsidized the buses, it subsidized MTA, it subsidized the living, the tax base, the police, everything was subsidized. And now what you see is a unsubsidized economy, which is not that good, and this unsubsidized economy is affecting people, it's affecting jobs, it's affecting MTA, it's affecting New York City housing. I have a lot of contracts with New York City housing. They're all gone. I used to take care of fire panels, I used to take care of computers in their offices, everything. It's all gone. Like everything, every last bit of it has been taken away. And there is no more every last bit's been taken away. So I can't do anything about it. It is what it is. But the decline is there, and to say that that New York City is not in decline, well, that's not true. It is in decline. The question is how far it be decline. It's not Rust Belt decline, but it's decline. And then the other question would be how far this decline can go. This decline can go pretty far. And when it continues, it'll be rough, and I just don't know what to say about that, So yeah, the decline is there. Not Rust Belt decline, like I said, like I keep repeating, because that kind of decline is massive. I mean, when all the industry pulled out and all these companies in the U.S. decided years ago that, we're just going to manufacture in China and there's nothing you can do about it. And all these companies had an unfair advantage. They weren't going to tax the shit out of these companies manufacturing in China. They just let them do their thing. That was a problem. That was definitely a problem, because these companies just went ahead and manufactured everything out of the country, and they did it all and continued to sell. It was a problem. It's all come to head now. But I don't think that's something that can be fixed quickly. And these Rust Belt cities, they've been decayed for years. I mean, that's not going to come back, until many, many years when they start manufacturing again here, if they can even do it, because there's so many laws and so many rules here that how are you going to do that? Like pollution laws and various different requirements to manufacture here, zoning, you name it. I mean, what are you going to do? So It is what it is, you know. You can't change it. I can't fix it. I can't fix the problem. But the decay here is bad, and I don't see a good outcome right now. It's gonna get worse before it gets better, because the problem is that you have these situations where these budgets just keep rolling. Everything keeps rolling, and it doesn't stop. It doesn't end. You know, it's just not. The MTA costs a certain amount to run, and nobody gives in. You know, they just instead of they can't shut it down, but you know, police department requires a certain amount of money. These government organizations don't shrink. They don't know how to. And I think that's part of the problem, because if you have a government organization that can't shrink, then it can't conform to what the present economic situation is. And that economic situation right now is not good. And actually, they need to conform, but their budget just does not stop. It just rolls along, and we need this much money, and that's it. There's no questioning how, why, or what. You know, people have to try to shrink back down or do something to stop the government spending. It's not going to happen. You know, they need to continue with their budget, and that's all they know. And that's why this congestion toll thing came through, because the congestion toll requires a certain amount to survive, and they'll continue to get that. Whether you like it or not, it is what it is, you know. The congestion toll will command its money, and it will run the MTA. That's the problem. The congestion toll is required to keep things rolling, and that congestion toll will command its money. You know, that's basically what's happening. So that's what I mean by the decline, because I can see, like, I'm somewhat familiar. I'm not a city comptroller. I don't know what their budgets are, but I know that my work is dried up completely. Like, my work with NYC is gone. So these budgets have dried up. They're just soaking up everything. They're getting rid of everything that they can't get rid of, like employees. You know, they can't cut any of that fat. So the overtime or whatever, I don't know if they're cutting on that, but the subcontractors are gone. Any contractors are, you know, they're all gone. And then it all boils down to what it is now, which is all the contractors are out. No contractors left. Every part of the contractor thing has been cut, which is sad. You know, that's what gets things done. And then these budgets just keep rolling. You know, the MTA costs a certain amount to operate, and it will not stop. Whether they have to start handing out summonses to people for every little thing, do ticket blitzes, whatever they have to do, they're going to get that money. And that's what scares me, because in the decline of the city The city is declining. People are doing stuff to get money. That's not good. Like, you're seeing people walk into delis and just, like last night, on the Upper East Side, a guy went into the deli with a white Tyvek suit on and a mask, and just shot the guy right away. No questions asked. That kind of stuff, that kind of desperation is what's getting me a little nervous. And I'm not condoning. I mean, man, if you need money and you're doing shit like that, that's really fucked up. I mean, it's insane. I'm just analyzing the situation. And this is happening in a lot of places. It's not just here. So for me to jump straight out of here is not a smart move. Yeah, I was trying not to show any aggression here, you know, when I'm running my bike on the street, you know. Well, I'm going to put my bike right here, actually, right in front. So anyway, let me know what you think about the decline. Would you compare it to Rust Belt decline, or would you compare it to something else? All right, everybody. See you on the next one.